buffet and some very well documented broken metatarsals. If you love that decade as much as we do, then you're very much in the right place. Now, joining me today, the Planet Football deputy editor who spends lazy Sunday afternoons watching reruns of Leeds beating Anderlecht in the Champions League group stages of 2000, Rob Conlon.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Rob is paired up with our Borough-supporting football commentator and European expert. If you want, you can spend a whole evening with him in the pub and he'll discuss in great depth the Dutch third division. It's Pete Farries, everyone.
Yeah, I'm more of a fan of the Eerste Divisie, which is the second division, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like I say, if you want to, we'll give you his number.
Listen, I don't have to feel ashamed for liking small foreign leagues, all right?
And finally, the Stoke-supporting Planet Football editor who used to idolise Peter Crouch but can't now because he's on a rival footy podcast, Mark Holmes.
There's no use to about it, mate. Still a hero.
Oh, mate.
There's room for two. There's room for two podcasts. Just two, though.
Did you just love Crouchy?
Oh, what a man. What a man.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Football Index, the football stock market where you can buy and sell players for real money. Sign up today at footballindex.co.uk, and we've got a code and everything. TBM Index. TBM is in the broken metatarsal. TBM Index, you can trade with a £500 money back guarantee. New customers only, 18 plus. And I feel a bit eggy asking people to do this, but if you want to rate the podcast and subscribe to it so you don't miss any, then you can do that as well. But it feels a little bit like being a bit too needy in a relationship asking that. But
Go for 4. If you don't want to go too silly, go for 4 out of 5. We're fine with 4.
No.
Why are you downplaying the rating? Why would you do that?
Ask for 4, hope for 5.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah. Okay, so each episode will be digging into one element of the noughties, from the sublime to the ridiculous. Today, it's the game that simultaneously enhanced and ruined your life at the same time. The procrastinator's activity of choice. It's Championship and Football Manager. Okay, so lots coming up on today's podcast, including an interview with an absolute Championship Football Manager legend, Cherno Samba.
Well, I think anyone who's listening to this podcast will immediately be excited, because if they like Championship Manager and Football Manager, Cherno Samba is up there, along with 2 or 3 other players that you immediately think of. His real-life career is interesting too, which we obviously spoke to him about. Lovely, lovely guy. But when it comes to Champ Man, he is just the man. And yeah, just a lovely, lovely bloke. Great interview, that.
Also, we will be doing another edition of Football Fact or Football Fiction. We've already found out David Batty was injured by his daughter's bicycle. Freddie Lundberg likes a spot of furniture designing, and I still can't quite get my head around this. But Jose Mourinho voiced the Pope in a movie, which I still think you're having me on about, but you insist is definitely the case.
It's definitely the case, yeah. I haven't watched the film personally. It's not my kind of thing, but no, he did. It was
one of them religious stories, as you referred to.
Yeah, one of them religious tales.
Right, that is all on the way for you. I thought I'd refresh myself a little bit. I mean, as a 37-year-old, I haven't played Championship Football Manager for a while. It was, very much in my sort of late teens, early uni days. So I started a game this week with Leeds, obviously. And the main thing that I noticed is that I just don't have as much time on my hands as I used to.
It's a young man's game, isn't it?
It's a young man's game. I would play it for hours and hours on end, and then I started up a game. I was well excited, Leeds. Well, here we go, right? Great season, brilliant. Let's start it all off. And I've got kids hacking me. I've got the missus who's shouting over. I'm like, how can you possibly find time? But back in the day,
I think that's it. I think it's the fact that 2 people in this room have children and 2 people don't. Rob, I mean, as far as I understand.
Not as far as I know.
Yeah.
He's hiding a secret.
So it might just be that, because I still play this. I started playing this when I was really little. My oldest brother bought it, and I started playing this game at the very, very start of being able to use a computer effectively. And then I went from there, and to this day, there is a game on my laptop open right now in my bag. I think this game is 80% of the reason that I do the job that I do.
You're going to be one of these people that ends up divorcing his wife because you spent too much time on.
And I know which way I'd go on that one. I think the fact of the matter is that I think I got the love for sort of weird European leagues and different European players. And I remember when you could first start watching the little circles move rather than just the words, and I'd be sort of half commentating in my head. For me, growing up and actually into my adult life, it's a very strange relationship, I think.
It's also one of the reasons why had my career, which I've just put things off because I've been playing Championship Manager. Just not quite got around doing things like uni work and stuff like that.
I was about to say it's been much more of a hindrance than a help to me. I think college years definitely would have got into a better university had I actually applied myself to my college work as heavily as I applied myself to Football Manager. I mean, where would I be now? I'd probably be working for the Athletic or something, I imagine.
It's kind of like it's kind of annoying. It's kind of annoying that you can't get the benefit from. I mean, you're saying you sort of took that into your career, but generally speaking, the amount of time and effort and like diligence looking into players, research that you were going to do, making sure you got the best team. I just wish that I had the ability to actually apply that into the rest of my life.
Some people have actually got jobs, haven't they, on the back of what they've done on Champman and Football Manager, scouting roles and stuff, because they've done the scouting for the game. For me and you, Rich, you should know the mobile game now for Football Manager is just like the good old days, because you can just play it in between, dealing with the children, in between making tea and stuff, and you can whittle through a season quite quickly. So I found that's a good way
I'm all
relive
over
my
that.
dream.
I'm all over that. Just need to go to the loo. Just disappear off for like half an hour, and then you're all sorted and good to go. I picked Leeds when I just went back to it because in hindsight, obviously, I thought if I go to that, I did the 01-02 game. I thought I can go to it before it all crumbles. So I went down that, and it was great. My favourite thing was that the board are happy and the club is in an excellent financial situation, which was the notification that came through on my news feed. So I was pretty.
I mean, normally it's a very
yeah.
realistic game, but every now and again, something slips through at Leeds, I guess.
What was your team of choice? Because obviously, most people, I think, or I certainly did, I'd play with Leeds and then I'd play with another team, like one that you can then, if you support one of the bigger teams or whatever, one that you can try and get through the leagues. I mean, I had out Oxford a few times, just totally randomly, and I don't even know why. But which were the teams that you picked and you went with?
I used to play a lot, I don't know why, with Derby and Celtic. So I have no idea why those two teams. There must have been a reason at the time, but yeah, Derby and Celtic for some unknown reason.
It's funny you say that you chose Leeds as one of the bigger teams, because my experience is the complete opposite, where I've chosen Leeds as my smaller team.
You're later in the game, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
When you first started playing it then, where would Leeds have been? Because you're a bit later.
I was like 06, 07, which is funny though, because you say, it was so realistic. So 07, we got to the playoff final the year before. So you start the game up as Leeds thinking, right, promotion push here, automatic promotion. You start as favourites. I couldn't get a game out of them. It was impossible. And you think, this can't be right. There must be a glitch in the game or something. And then actually in real life it transpires that we go and get relegated, so it is actually very, very realistic.
I'd actually put it down to your poor manager,
I just couldn't get Jeff Horsfield among the goals. So.
I mean, I would always go with Middlesbrough to start. That'd be my first game. And by the way, every single game was a one-team game. I never left, and I still to this day don't. I take a team and try and make that one team as successful as possible for as long as possible.
You are proper intense on Championship manager, mate.
Don't mess with me, right? I start with one team, and I'd never resign. I never go, I'm going to go and manage a different team now. It is about what I can do with that one club. I can't think of any game ever on Football Manager that I've gone, it's time to move on to a different club now. I used to go to different leagues, lower leagues all over the place. As the game itself got bigger and bigger and bigger, I could go to smaller and smaller teams.
So what we've discovered is all those chats we have where we're like, who the hell's he talking about? It's all because of Football Manager.
There's a big part of it, I presume, yeah?
Does anyone on Twitter follow the Championship Manager 0102 Twitter account?
Yeah, I do.
It's so good.
CM 0102 as well, for our era, all three of us, not Rob, is just the one. When we were asking for suggestions for a dream team, which we'll do later, pretty much 95% of them were from that game. So we've got loads that didn't make it in, but that game was just
there was something
life.
good about that one. It was, I mean, I know you talked about, they brought in all different things where you can see the players moving about and everything, but there was something nice about the simplicity of just hitting start game and seeing the commentary go up, and whether you want to have it on slow commentary or like fast commentary,
Very fast,
if you need it
every time.
very fast, like straight through. Come on,
Really?
we can see what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, Philistines.
Not even
Not in
got
the-
time
not-
for the subs.
Not in the second half, because I want to make some substitutions. I want to give myself
dear
time to
me.
think about what's happening, have it on the player rating, see how they're doing. Anyone dropping below 6, get them straight off there.
Yeah.
But there was something a little bit simplistic that in that game, it was tactical without being too tactical in a way. So, I would just need to say, right, I'm going to set up, say, a 4-4-2. Okay, well, I want Harry Kewell. I'm going to drag his little line.
The arrows,
so
yeah,
the little
yeah,
arrow that
yeah.
takes you forward. You've got a player that's like AM C/R/L. It's like, well, where am I going to get the best out of them? And
I think that's called the Nicholas Alexanderson conundrum, that. I think.
It could be, but it was simple, but it was detailed enough for me.
Once you start tweaking training regimes, you've gone far too down the rabbit hole. But it's funny because but I'm almost nostalgic about when it changed to just the dots on the screen, because again you'd get so emotionally attached to just a little circle moving about the screen, like that was your hero. That you'd have one dot would be your guy you could just back. every time you knew he'd got your back, and then it became a bit weird then.
It was weird as well because you kind of knew what was going to happen after a while with the dots.
Yeah.
Like there was just a way of telling there's going to be a goal there, or it's straight to the keeper, but it goes. For God's sake!
You know, when I was playing, I started this game with Leeds. You know, I mean, Viduka's been banging in the goal, so everyone's very happy. But I've had a couple of last-minute equalisers against us, against Derby and against Aston Villa, a 3-3 and a 1-0. In fact, I sent you the screenshot of the 3-3, and I was really upset. I was like really gutted.
But the people nowadays, the younger people always talk about scripting in FIFA, don't they? Back in the day, it was like Championship Manager. Every single time I would do like the bookings on one game, and then it was last-minute equaliser in another game. There was always something that you're convinced this is like the world's against me, and this game is just out to ruin my life.
I think it was. I definitely was. We kind of put together. In fact, we popped this out, and if you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, it's at Planet Football, spelt
FUTEBOL.
OL. That's the one, right? So like the Portuguese spelling, because some other bloke has at Planet Football is the reason why. And we put out that that we were going to put together a kind of Championship Football Manager 11. Just some honourable mentions for ones that that didn't make it in there. Julius Agahawa. From at Grab the Paw. Hello to you. That's one of those famous names as well from there was mentioned. Maxim Sigalko, Wasim D suggested that one as well. Alex Notman.
Yeah, he was.
I'm not familiar with.
Pete?
Actually, no.
What?
Yeah, no. It was a name that I wasn't quite sure when we were looking at it.
Hasn't played Dutch second division. That's the reason why. At Razzie Newt sent that one in as well, and also Alex Brooker, who's on a couple of podcasts and is going to be on another one as well, suggested Mark Kerr.
Yeah, Alex was gutted he couldn't be on this one. He's on last week and he's on next week. He was absolutely devastated he couldn't work it. He's been sending me so much stuff. Please mention him,
Mention this one, mention that one. So those are just some of the names. I know there are loads more as well, but we thought we'd try and put together our own starting 11. But let's start off with our goalkeeping choice. Pete, who have you gone for?
Yeah, so we've gone 4-4-2 here, right? Because that was this kind of era's thing anyway. Now, obviously, you can have Gengham press and vertical tiki-taka and everything else. But here, right now, 4-4-2, beautiful, right? But we've started with goalkeeper Rusty Rexford. Now, this guy had a great time in real life anyway. He almost signed for Arsenal, but fell out with Arsene Wenger. But for me, I remember he went on, I think it was like a 11 or 12 game streak of not conceding any goals. We then got to a final, a FA Cup final, that Borough were 3-0 up in. I can't remember who against, but 3-0 up in, right? And then I thought, do you know what? For the last 5 minutes of this game, I'm putting him up front. What does Rusty do? Anyone? Scores again. Makes it 4-0, right?
If Stuart Pearce is listening to this now, he'll be absolutely gutted. Oh, it worked for Pete.
Exactly, yeah. Jimmy Glass going, yeah, done it, don't worry about it. But for me, I'll always remember that incredible sort of goalkeeping run followed by an FA Cup final goal.
Look at the smile on your face. Look at that.
I could do this for 1 million players. Bring on the next.
Let's do the centre-backs. Rob, who you got?
Yeah, so obviously starting with Leeds, defensively we've not been great in these last decade or so. And centre-back and left-back has been a problem. So you go for you can't get Paolo Maldini. You get the next best thing, which is Jay McEvely. So, promising young defender at Blackburn.
Never have those two been mentioned in the same sentence before.
Promising young defender at Blackburn to start with. I remember he was one of those players that because he was so good on Football Manager, I just rated him without ever actually seeing him play in real life. So I remember he went to Derby and he got promoted. I thought, oh no, they've got a good defender on their hands there. They're going to do really well in the Premier League, actually. And then they went and got a record low points total. So it maybe didn't quite translate as much into real life.
Another centre-back, Mark.
Yeah, so we've shoehorned him in because he was actually right back on the game, but he was a centre-back in real life from 0102, Mike Duff.
You know you're going to get complaints about doing that, you know. You can't just...
Well, the thing is, you can play anyone anywhere.
We're trying to do the full 2000s there, so it's difficult. I had to have Mike Duff in there. I was not having Mike Duff not being in there. Because he was at Cheltenham. He was valued at like 7k, but you could literally sign him for any club in the world, and I genuinely mean that, and he'd come straight and he'd be 7.5 through the season, just phenomenal. I think it was like 23 or something, so you'd get 10 years of service out of him. Real just model of consistency. He was just absolutely phenomenal, no matter who you sign him for. And the great thing is you could always get him. I signed him on my Stoke game leading up to this, just in the name of research, for 10k on $4,000 a week. He scored in his second game because he was always good for a goal. Just an absolute legend.
You know, when you start a new game, you go back to the heroes from the last one.
Yeah.
And I used to go back to him all the time. And then eventually you got to the point where you go, Oh, he's
not good anymore.
I can't keep going back to the well here. He's done.
Let's go right back, Pete.
Anthony van den Borre, absolutely brilliant. Again, he would just bomb down that right-hand side. Again, he was one of these that never cost the world. You know, there's some we'll talk about soon that you could get on a free transfer and we're always going to be great no matter what price they were. But with him, with Van den Borre, you knew that no matter what you paid, whether it was 5 million or 10 million, he was going to rip it up. And also, and this is my favourite part, he didn't care who he signed for. In the game, as long as you had the money. Like sometimes I'd just sell off loads and loads of players in the championship or whatever, and I'd somehow still be able to buy Anthony van den Borre. I will always love that man.
I mean, Mark's going to do the left back, but there's literally only one left back
Hero.
that you could possibly even think about. So if it's not the left back that everybody is thinking about right now, Mark, then we're going to have an issue because there is only one.
Absolutely, there's only one. First thing you do, CM 0102, get your game, hear your board expectations, sign Taribo West.
Absolutely.
And like Pete just said with Van den Borre, the great thing was it didn't matter pretty much who you were managing, as long as you offered him like slightly above his wage expectations, he would sign for you. You know, he's been released by Inter Milan, and I've signed him for my Stoke game to play left back, taking over from Clive Clark. It was just phenomenal. And again, that was just sorted. If you were Man United, you would sign him, whether it was backup, but you would always sign him, no matter who you manage. Taribo West, free transfer, job done, sorted.
I think a lot of players, when they're at Inter, are at the back of the mind thinking, I just want to get that move to Stoke.
Like Jordan Shaqiri, yeah.
He is Taribo West is genuinely, if we're talking championship manager icons, Taribo West is in the absolute pantheon.
He's right up there, isn't he?
He's not that, you know, with Taribo West is a golden god.
Moving into midfield.
Well, this is another classic one. Who's kind of transcended eras actually between Championship Manager and Football Manager. But Kim Kallstrom. So when you did load up CM 0102, he was only a 17-year-old at Hacken, and you could get him for next to nothing, and he was quality. He was always good for a thunder bastard of a goal as well. But then even as I started playing it, he was still classed then for, I think it was Rennes and Lyon, so you could always just get him in your midfield, and even if he was a backup option, again, I couldn't get him at Leeds then, I'd have to be managing Inter or Juve, but it would always be a great backup option in midfield that you could just rely on. One of the few players that slightly lived up to his billing, maybe just on a tier below, probably best known in England for it. He eventually rocked up at Arsenal in his 30s, bad back by then, maybe not the best idea actually. I think he tells a story that in his medical they picked up on this back injury, and Wenger kind of looked at him and sighed and looked at the clock, and he says, well, we've not really got enough time to sign a replacement now, so you'll have to do. But he ended up coming on an FA Cup semi-final, final 15 minutes against Wigan, took a penalty in the shootout and scored, and he called that the greatest 15 minutes of his life, which I quite like as well.
Partnering Kim Kallstrom in midfield, Mark?
Tonton Zola Makoko. 17 ACM or forward at Derby, valued at around 300k. I think you could get for $500,000. Ghanaian Swedish dual nationality, so that was a dream no matter what league you're in. Probably up there with the best ever players on any of the games ever. Put him in behind the strikers, he gets 30 goals a season, no problem. Just an absolute hero. And we actually spoke to him for the website on Planet Football, and he's got a meeting room named after him at the Sports Interactive Studios. That's how much.
Does he really?
Yeah, he does. That's how much of a legend he is.
So they have meetings either in like the kitchen, the boardroom, or in the Tonton. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. All right, now the front four that are going to do all the damage in our team here, starting with our left winger in this 4-4-2.
Well, it's another absolute classic that you've just always got to have him scouted, no matter how old he is or how far he's dropped in his actual career. But Freddie Adu is just the eternal promise of Freddie Adu. He comes through as a 14-year-old in America, and even when he's falling out of favour on trial at Blackpool, you've just got to keep your eye on him, just in case. You never know, he might just become the next Pele like everyone else.
Still time.
You know, I've still not given up on him now. I think now as well, he finally might be able to persuade him to get to Leeds as well.
Onto the right wing, who have you got for us, Pete?
There was one answer to this. It's Kennedy Bakachioğlu. Now, this man you could get from Hammarby for peanuts, loose change, whatever you want to say. He was incredible. He could play anywhere across the midfield, attacking midfielder, left, right, centre. You could get him dirt cheap. He would score goals. He would assist them. He was the best player in any team anywhere in the world at any point. He, for me, I've got to say, along with one or two others, a couple that sadly haven't made the team, he is just the man for me in possibly this entire game.
I reckon, Pete, that the reason he didn't fulfil his potential in real life is that you are the only person in the world who knows how to pronounce his name.
And possibly I'm pronouncing it wrong. So,
So pronounce it again.
Saying it so
Kennedy
confidently.
Bakachioğlu, I think it is.
There is something nice.
Because there's Turkish descent in there, I think.
There is something nice about all these players that actually, the better the name is, kind of the more you like them as well. There's something about
Yeah, I
that,
get that. Yeah, I get
about the
that.
name that you like. You know, you found someone with a great name
Yeah.
and a great player as well.
Jay McEvely.
Yeah, exactly. We have 2 forwards, 2 strikers in there. I always preferred the players that came from nothing and went on to be something like you found a gem.
Yeah.
So this player doesn't really fit into that bracket because he's had a fairly decent career. But Javier Saviola was the first striker that I always bought. It was just, if you were with you'd have to be with a decent team to do that. It was almost like just every game I started, I'd just go for Javier Saviola.
What you said there, Rich, is spot on as well. The team that we've listed through, it's all, under the radar players in terms of what they did in real life, and you built them up. But actually, I went back on CMO 102 and just looked at the 10 most expensive players. And obviously, like, some of these were phenomenal as well. It was like Vieri, Salas, Shevchenko, Del Piero, all in Italy. David Beckham was at United at the time. Ronaldo, Raul, Totti, Zidane, Figo, Rivaldo. They were the 11 most expensive players at the start of 0102. And we haven't mentioned any of them.
No.
Because you just loved, didn't you, finding the
It's
player.
the
on
other
free
ones,
hit.
isn't
Yeah.
it? But Javier Saviola, to play for Argentina and Barca and Madrid. So we're not talking about someone who was under the radar. But in terms of guaranteed goals, get in there, you got a Premier League team, buy him, boom, job's done. And the final one is Cherno Samba, of course. And in fact, I bought him the other day. I remembered him being cheap. I remembered being able to pick him up for like well under $1 million. I had to pay 1.7 million for him. Like
Indispensable to Millwall.
Millwall, indispensable to Millwall. They're playing
Either that
hardball.
or
I was like, what?
your negotiation skills might not have been
Could
brilliant.
have been
why,
that
why,
as well.
why didn't you drop a couple of kids in there as a part exchange?
Sell on 50% because
Sell
you
on
know you're
50%,
never going to
yeah.
sell him.
I was just like...
In the modern game now, you could have arranged a friendly as part of it. You've not thought about
Everyone's
it
a
at all.
smart arse in hindsight, aren't they? 1.7 million it cost me at the time, but guaranteed to go on and do amazing things. And Mark, Pete, and myself spoke to Cherno. We did invite Rob, but he was busy at home playing Football Manager, so he couldn't make it. And here's what happened when we spoke to the one and only, a great of the game, Cherno Samba. Cherno, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Championship manager was such a big part of the decade of the noughties for so many people. I told my brother-in-law, who was a massive Champman fan, that we were going to be speaking to you, and he reacted. He was pretty much as excited as if I told my 8-year-old that I was meeting Ariana Grande. He was like, not Cherno Samba. I signed him so many times. He was absolutely buzzing about it. But, that is how people, when they hear your name, that's how they react, which must be such a special thing for you.
It is. As I always tell people, I'll be 91 with a stick, and people will still come to me and talk to me about Championship Manager. It's and I will embrace it because I've been embracing it since. It's something that's part of me now, and it will stay with me for the rest of my life. It's very good that sometimes you go out on the street and then people come to you and say, I've bought you so many times, and it's just joy to see some people happy with that. So yeah, I'm very pleased with that.
I mean, your own Twitter account in your blurb at the start of it does include the 3 words. You know where I'm going with this? Championship Manager legend. I love that. Love it.
Well. For a start, that wasn't for me to do. That's what part of my team to say. Right, you are a legend on the game, so might as well just put that in there. So I said, all right, no problem. There you go. So
he's blaming the team.
Put it that way.
Well, this is the thing, mate. So I'm another one of these people who you were one of my go-to men. Of course you were. This is a game. I still play the game to this day, and sometimes find myself hovering over the search bar, going, "Should I type in Cherno?" But this is the thing, mate. Like it is incredible because firstly, that game hit everyone, especially that time in a special place. So to be a special part of a special game, that is a blessing. That I think, isn't it?
It is. I didn't realize when I was playing in my career, you didn't realize how big I was in the game until after I retired. That's when I realized, whoa, this is massive because everyone just kept talking about it. And like I said, it's something, I've always said to these people that there are certain people in the game, for example, certain names which I'm not going to name anymore at the minute, but they wasn't happy with the fact that they made them that into the game, and there was not, they always blamed the game that their career went out certain way, i.e. Freddie Adu. Actually, I'll name him.
That didn't take long, did it? He went from not naming anyone to naming him in 10 seconds.
Exactly. Well, I just had to, yeah. But for me, I disagree with that because I think, as a human being, if whatever you set out to do, you have to have the belief and the goal to go and do it. So it was no game that stop your career in certain ways. So for me, that you should be privileged to be rank among those. You just got to deliver. And in life, general, everything's pressurized anyway. So let alone in football. So for me, yeah, as I said, I always said, I embraced it. Don't get me wrong. There are part of things that were, even for my own self, at times when I was playing, I was trying to replicate what my stat was saying. So I said, right, I've got a burst here because the stat says I'm fast at 19. So things like that. So I was always,
Wow.
trying to compare my stats with how I was playing.
Cherny, you've said in interviews before that
Yeah.
you've admitted that you were a little bit cocky at that young age.
Mm.
When you saw the stats, did you think, yeah, that looks about right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. That's great.
Well, we're looking at the stats right now, Cherno. That's the thing.
Exactly, because I was very confident in my own ability. I would it was a thing where, right, it's time for me to go and score now. So I just go and get the ball, be about field defenders and score. So I was always very confident in my ability, and because of that, the thing what I found as well at the time, because I was superior than everyone else, as they were saying I was meant to win the World Cup for England in 2006. The people weren't necessarily telling me what was best for me. So all the people that were around me, they was always telling me what I wanted to hear, which it didn't help at the time because I was only young. Do you know what I mean? But I took upon that sometimes to be a little bit cocky in terms of, yes, I'm better than everyone else, and I didn't want to work hard enough. When it was, times to do 10 doggies, I'll probably do about 6 doggies. When it was, to do it 1 hour in the gym, I'll probably do about 10 minutes and walk off, because I was always scoring goals and people were always telling me what I want to hear. When in hindsight, I wish they were telling me, right, you are the best. However, you've got to put the hours in. You've got to work harder. And that's something that I'm trying to instill in these kids now.
You get that an awful lot with young players now who are told what they want to hear, who aren't, who are overprotected, and we could name a few that are playing now that feel like that. That's not just a champ manager thing, I guess, is it? I mean, that's obviously your experience, but
yeah, absolutely,
that's something that happens with a lot of these young kids now, especially with the money that's knocking around, I guess, as well.
Exactly, and I always tell people now, I wish I was those kids that walk from the back door, not from the front door, because I was, what I mean by that is, I was always, everyone's talked about me and stuff. So I wanted to be one of those kids where no one knew what I was doing. I'd get on my work really quietly and then burst. But I burst very easy, very quickly. And with that, it brings pressure. I would have, prolonged my career a little bit more, and I would have played at the highest level. Even though, don't get me wrong, a lot of people in life, how many people can say they've achieved their goals? And my goal was to be a professional footballer, played for England or play for Gambia at senior level. And I did all that. So, it's just that the expectation that was put on me, it looks like a failed career. Whereas if you ask anybody, I played in the championship, played in Spain and stuff, how many people can say that? But because of, as I said, the expectation that was put on me, it looked like, well, he didn't get to the top. But hello, my 3 goals were to be a professional footballer, which I did. Played for England or played for Gambia, either at senior level, and I did that. So I'm happy with, how my career planned out, to be honest.
And that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, you went, like you say, you played Cadiz, Malaga, a very brief spell was over in Greece. Like that, that's interesting.
Absolutely. The time that I went, I was only 19, and that's when I just left Millwall. Cadiz in Spain, they came in, and I thought, you know what? My game suits that style anyway. Let me go and see what's out there. And when I went in there, it was gobsmacking. It's like the food is nice, the weather is nice, the football is beautiful. What more do you want? You know what I mean? So I was very chuffed. But then after a while, things take its toll, because I felt that I failed in my own country, so I had to be shipped out to Spain. So that's when obviously I started having depression, thinking so many players that I was playing at England, they were playing in week out in the Premiership, where I was in the second division in Spain. So I was a bit, I'm thinking about the deal that didn't happen at Liverpool. So I was depressed, and then, come to a point where I didn't want to be here. But thank God, I'm here now, and I can talk about it.
Chino, I need to pick you up on something. You mentioned, of course, that there was the move to Liverpool, which never happened when you were so young, and it was on the cards. You picked, essentially, Liverpool over Leeds United. No, don't laugh this off, mate. This is a serious business, right? Okay, and I find that, personally, very offensive.
/ understandable, right?
What did Liverpool offer that Leeds thing? Come on, what was going on there?
Well, listen, as I said earlier before we come on live, I'm a United fan. and I picked Liverpool before I went United. So that says a lot. For me, it was exact. For me, it was just the way they conducted themselves, the way they made me feel welcome, the way they made me feel special. I remember Joao Julia asking me who was my favorite player at the time, and it was Michael Owen. And he just got Michael Owen to give me a call, and just made me feel good with Robbie Fowler, Emil Heskey. They were all brilliant to me. After when Michael Owen gave me a call, now come on, I can't let Michael down, could I?
That's what they do then. They're sending the big guns. So what's it like as a kid that age? I mean, getting a phone call from Michael Owen, you must be like, what is going on here? What's happening at the time?
I was on the school bus, as a lot of people know now, and my mates didn't believe me, so I had to put him on loudspeaker. And the bus just went absolutely mad. Everyone started screaming, "Michael Owen's funny, my mate here." It was mental, absolutely mental. And it's something that, I'll always remember, because I remember the conversation was, it'd be good to come here, it'd be good to play with you and, help you out and stuff like that. Now, he was one of the greatest players for England at the time. So, for him to say that, you can't let him down, can you?
Man, the only phone call I got on the bus was my mum asking me why I was late. I mean, there wasn't Michael Owen. That's different level, isn't it?
Your mum.
Yeah, I know, but the kids on the bus weren't impressed with that, mate. I got to say.
I can imagine. I get that till now. I'm 34. And my mum calls me.
Churn, I'm really interested in your early years, really, before Millwall, before Champman and all that. Obviously, your family come over from Gambia when you were 6, I think.
Yeah.
When did you find out you were a decent footballer? And I really want to know, because there's lots of stuff on Wikipedia that's not true, and this just sounds crazy. Did you really score 132 goals in 32 games for your school team? Because that is incredible.
Well, a lot of things in Wikipedia are not true. I believe that. I agree with that, because even my stats on Wikipedia, I look at, I'm like, are you serious? That's not how many games I played. I played more than that. But yeah, there you go. That's not fine. But yes, the 132 goals in 32 games, that was true. That's
canon. We're having it. Brilliant.
Yeah,
that is doable, because last season I've been playing a lot of lads v dads against my 6-year-old and his friends, and I bagged in a load.
I was going to say, actually, it's incredible, because all of those came in one game, and then you had a horrible dry spell after that.
Yeah. That was true. I was just I think when I was 13, and I was scoring left, right, and centre. I was very what helped as well, to be honest, because my dad was a goalkeeper and he played for the Gambian national team, so he was always taking me out to say, look, this is how you beat goalies and stuff. Don't let them settle, blah blah blah. So that helped a little bit, and I was always wanted to score goals, and that was always part of me. But all this time I was playing, I didn't think of anything. It just started hitting home when I actually got signed by Millwall. That's when I thought, right, this can be serious, because I was just enjoying myself and just playing football with your friends. And it was never I could make it as a professional footballer here. But then after I got picked for Millwall, that's when I started taking it seriously.
Back to Champman, you mentioned before that you didn't really appreciate until after your career how big it was. At the time, how do you find out that you're on the game? Does someone at the club tell you? Is it a mate that just says, mate, you look pretty good on Champman?
Just people coming up to you going, I've signed you, and you going, what?
Yeah. It was at Millwall, actually. So one of my mates came and said, about this game, Championship Manager? I went, what are you talking about? He goes, listen, you are unbelievable, innit? I bought you this. I'm like, what are you on about? So anyway, he said, look, just get the game and see what I'm talking about. So I got the game, see myself, and I thought, wow, I'm not that bad, to be honest. And then that was it. And that's how I knew about Champman. And then every time I was playing against players, against the Chelsea players, the Reading, United and stuff, so they always teased me with it and said, right, you're not going to score. I know the stat says it, but so from there, that's when I knew. And I was always, and then funnily enough, I'd done the advert. I think it was the 2017 advert with them. So I'm started doing work with the gamers now, so which is good.
Your stats are nuts. I mean, I'm actually looking at your stats here. Finishing 20. We've got, what else have we got here? Heading is 20. Another 20 for strength as well. 19 for teamwork. 18's all over the shop and everything. I've got to ask you though, does 5 for reflexes hurt a little bit, pal?
Yeah, it does. Even the 20 for heading. Now, my weakest was the heading, my heading ability. So when I saw the 20, I'm like, well, okay, I'll take that.
Did you ever find out who the scout was? Because obviously Champman have scouts. Did you ever find out who it was who rated you?
No. Till this day, I don't know.
It's Michael Owen, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly. Joe Julia.
Well, you never know.
I had a look at because I'm 32, and yet I still play the game now when I get a chance. Yeah. And Lionel Messi's stats aren't that Lionel Messi's
That
that's a
great.
nowhere near. That
I
blows
was the best
Messi out
in
of
the
the
game,
water.
I think, innit? That was the game. I was better than all of them on the game, actually. Yeah.
Oh, it's just a straight £250,000 buy from Millwall,
Yeah,
straight into the first team. It's almost like having a cheat in the game. You know what I mean? If you sign Cherno, it's almost like it's almost making it too easy for yourself. You know?
Adriano on Pro Evo.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that kind of.
I think how they did the game. I think because at that time I was just bursting into the limelight, so they thought obviously this. They just predict what would happen in the future and things like that. So, but to be honest, they I think most of the stats they got it right because I was very explosive. My speed that was my strength, and I always used to love to come deep, pick up the ball, turn and attack defenders, and I was very explosive with that. That was my strength. But yeah, the heading ability, I don't know where they got that from. Because that was my worst.
Has Cherno Samba ever signed Cherno Samba on Championship
yes.
Manager? Oh yeah,
yes.
there we go.
Oh yes, come on.
That is the first thing. If I was in that situation, if I was a player, the first thing I would do is sign myself. Of course you would.
It was weird at first, but yeah, I got used to it in the end.
Do you get frustrated with yourself in the game then? You sort of like
Sometimes,
you can
yeah.
criticise the players, you can criticise yourself, can't you?
Yeah. Sometimes I say, "What are you doing? Sort yourself out, mate." So,
What's the weirdest story you've been told about you having been signed? What's the weirdest story that a player of the game has told you?
Well, I get so many stuff. Once they divorced. He divorced his wife for
Right.
playing Championship Manager. Now that was weird for me because I felt bad in the end because I thought, oh, so it's because of me that's why you lost your wife. And he says, no, don't. So that was for me. That was a bit, because he was constant on the football manager, Championship Manager, and he would just always just buy me. It was just all about me. So in the end, the wife wasn't happy. So yeah, they got a divorce.
Wow.
Before we let you go, Cherno, you mentioned it earlier that you're working with young kids in the game. Now, tell us a little bit more about that and how you're helping people.
Yeah, so basically just my story, that's why I wrote my autobiography as well. So all the kids that I work with, I try to tell them, look, to get to the top, there's no shortcuts. You have to put all the work in. I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, so they say. There's nothing in life that you can't do, but you have to put the effort in. And if you put it in, you'll get to where you want to get to. You have to believe and just work hard. There's no shortcuts. Because if you do shortcuts, people will catch up on you. And for me, some of the reasons why I didn't get to the highest level was because of that. I was taking shortcuts because I was better than everyone else. I didn't feel like I wanted to work hard enough and stuff. So when I tell these kids that they can see where I'm coming from, and I'm glad that they listen, and hopefully, they'll get to the top.
By the way, Cherno has not asked us to mention this in any way, shape, or form, but I will do anyway because it's fantastic. Cherno Samba, Still in the Game, is the name of the book, and it's a really interesting story. And as you've heard, just a slice about, and there's so much more to it as well. Cherno, everybody listening right now to this podcast has got a big smile on their face, thinking about how happy you made them.
I've got my smile on my face
Thank
now
you.
talking to Cherno.
That makes me feel good, mate.
The
I'm really
15-year-old,
privileged.
me is somewhere going, yes, Cherno.
It's Cherno.
Made it.
That'll do
That's
me
great.
nicely.
That makes me very humble, mate. I really appreciate that.
I have forgiven you for picking Liverpool over Leeds, and I'm sorry for bringing up your poor reflexes stats.
No problem.
Cherno, it's been an absolute delight talking to you. Your story is an inspiration,
Pleasure.
and I know a lot of
mate.
people will be thinking that right now. Thank you for joining us on the Broken Metatarsal.
No problem. Thank you, mate.
Okay, still to come on the podcast, football fact or football fiction. But first, we just need to reflect on Cherno. I just want to go for a pint with Cherno Samba.
man.
What a man.
What an absolutely thoroughly lovely bloke.
Gem, yeah.
He just
say never meet your heroes. I know we didn't meet him, it was over the phone, but wow. Wow.
Yeah, but he's now gone into your hero status. I like that.
He's a lovely man.
He
and
is.
I
He
love
really
that.
is.
I really like that. I'm pleased with that.
And he's obviously went through a difficult period with the whole Championship Manager thing because I guess not living up to the stats. Wait, I found that interesting. They said he tried to in games he was trying to live up to his stats. Like that's mad to think that a thought process that you're in the middle of playing for whoever against someone, and in the back of your mind you're thinking, I am not performing to my capabilities on a football game.
I've spoken to players before when I've sort of done interviews with them, and one of the sort of the regular bits of sort of, if you will, dressing room banter is that if someone sort of misses from 2 or 3 yards, it's like, all right, finish in 20. Like it is part of the football parlance now. It is that ingrained.
I love the thought that there's a player out there who's so into it, who knows all the other players' stats as well. So it's like, he's up against Carragher, pace like 11 or something. I'm 20. I should be burning him. What's going on here?
and the teammates going through the stats, going, there is no way that you are a 15 pace. Have you seen how slow? Like, it's that kind of thing. And again, that it's so woven into the actual sport is a remarkable achievement. It really is.
I love the fact that he sees his stats. His mates told him, "Look at yourself, you're amazing." And he's just like, "Yeah. That seems about right to me." Apart from his heading, but apart from that, yeah. Perfect.
I wonder if you can challenge the stats. Like when you don't quite get the grade you want at GCSE and you're like falling short by a point, you can challenge it and you can see if you can get it remarked. Like when the players come out, do they look at them and think, that's not me? And do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's happened with FIFA, hasn't it? When they've taken like EA Sports to task over.
Where's Morgan?
Where's Morgan's done it.
Yeah.
So I bet they did, back in the day, like on the blow. What are you doing here? Come on, give me a couple of points on that.
When you listen to him talk, what I think is so impressive in another way about Cherno is that he became an almost godlike figure. I mean, even if he'd had a really good career, right? I mean, a great career as opposed to the soddy career he had, he probably still couldn't have lived up to the expectations that were left on him. I mean, you were hearing people say he's going to win the World Cup for England in 2006. And those are expectations that are borderline impossible to live up to, especially if you're playing for England. I think when you listen to him talk, and he's so philosophical about it, and he's kind of, do you know what? I love it. To know that you're a special part of a special game must be amazing.
I'm going to sound like a really awful person now, but on the complete opposite end of the spectrum to that.
Oh dear. What's about to happen?
I must admit that when I used to start games as Leeds, there was a couple of lads in my year at school who were on the books of a certain football league club, and I used to sign them and make their dreams come true to get them to join Leeds. And they were particularly difficult characters. They were the school bellends, basically. So I then just used to release them and crush their dreams, which I feel pretty bad about now.
What happened in real life?
Neither of them have. Oh no, one of them actually does play in the football league. I think.
Go on.
I'm not good.
But you let them rot in your reserves, did they?
Yeah, I used to give them the hopes and dreams, sign them at Leeds, get them in the reserve team, and then go, "Oh, don't get ahead of yourselves, lads," and then send them packing again.
I might be going off tangent. I was about to say, just going off tangent a little bit. I mean, what year and what school were you at?
I'm not going to give away any more information.
At the start of that when you said, I don't want to sound petty or anything. You did.
It was funny because
I know full well.
There was a lad who was in the year below me at school who was on Hartlepool's books, and he was briefly on Borough's books as well. A really good goalkeeper. But I used to sign him, and he was never quite good enough to play regularly for me. But I thought, do you know what? I'm going to give you a nice, comfortable future. just put you in there. He was always all right, always pretty sound in real life. I'll put Scott Allenton, he was called, and I'd put him in, and I'd just let him just have a nice life. I go, I'm looking after you, Scott. Don't worry about it. I never thought about ruining his career particularly, but
I'm just a bitter bastard.
it sounds like it.
Do you think professional footballers do that as well? I mean, do you reckon
100%.
Jamie Vardy's currently buying Wayne Rooney in one of the earlier games and just letting him rot in the reserves, or Michael Owen's buying Alan Shearer?
That'll teach him.
No, I got my own back behind closed doors. Maybe that's going on as well.
Maybe. I tell you what I love about the fact that we've just interviewed Cherno. I don't know how many people know this, but we're actually on the game Planet Football as one of the journalist sources. So Planet Football asked a difficult question after a 4-0 home defeat. It's quite unrealistic because, they're asking the hard-hitting questions. We're asking Graham Stack about, having his Werthers confiscated by Arsene Wenger. But yeah, we are actually on it. It's amazing.
On that, because you personally aren't on it. All the journalists are made-up people, aren't they?
Sadly, yeah.
The site's there. But you as a person haven't quite made it.
We just have to add it to the list of requests that we want this podcast to get. We want the Twitter handle, and now we want Mark Holmes and Rob Conlon.
This whole podcast has been a ruse so that you two can put in a request to get you on it. That's why when we discussed doing this, we're like, Championship Manager. In the back of your minds, you were like, I want my name in the game.
Completely worth it as well, by the way. That was the point.
Okay, let's wrap up with a bit of football fact or football fiction. Of course, it's always based on our theme, which today is Championship Manager and Football Manager. Pete, Mark and Rob all have a statement to give to me. Only one of them is a footballing fact. The other two are completely made up. They are football fiction. Today we will start with Mark.
Championship Manager, Football Manager, they obviously have regens, i.e. when you've played 20, 25 years of the game, players come back into it. They also have been accused in the past of making up plays. There's some really famous examples. One of the developers admitted to doing it, and he just made him basically too good, so everyone became aware of him. But they also did it with Rod Hull. So they put Rod Hull into the game, and nobody probably ever signed him because he was rubbish. But he is actually on one of the old episodes of the game.
Rod Hull as in
Emu.
Rod
yeah.
Hull is in Championship Manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
His stats obviously aren't great, but he is. I can't think what version of the game it is, but if you go through them all and search Rod Hull, you will find him on there.
Can we just not do the other two and let that one be the fact?
Well,
That's amazing.
I remember the developers did put themselves in. The guys who created the game definitely did put themselves in. So
You would do that, wouldn't you?
Of course you would.
Why would you make yourself a player? You got the opportunity to do it. Rob, what have you got?
So we all know that footballers can be a bit touchy, shall we say. But since the first edition of Championship Manager and Football Manager, 24 players have launched legal proceedings against the game.
Is it people like saying, why aren't my stats as good as Rod Hull?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, you would be annoyed if Rod Hull was better than you, wouldn't you?
Who's this Rod Hull guy and why is he...
imagine on the current Football Manager now, like with all the actual people you can see running around, and you bring Rod Hull on, he's just got just running around.
This is bizarre. Pete, what have you got for us?
Right, I've got that in the year of 2012, Football Manager was cited in the divorce proceedings. Over 35 cases in that 1 year alone worldwide.
So like where people write unreasonable behaviour, that kind of thing, adultery, cheated on me with Championship Manager is in there
Or
as well.
vice versa, like she didn't support me or he didn't support me. I was in the final and she's on about tea. I'm trying to bloody manage the Champions League final here.
I hadn't thought about that incredibly stereotypical sort of setup that you just...
I did say she or he. Come on, give me some credit.
You can absolutely see it because I've seen parts of my life at times very briefly fall away for a great Football Manager game. Example I remember all the time is I was meant to go for a night out and a couple of mates said, "Look, let's go." I was like, "Do you know what? I've got a great game. I'm taking Chesterfield through the leagues here. You know, there's not a chance I am leaving to go out tonight. I'm staying in." So I stayed in.
Staying in not to do uni work, I get that, but come on, Pete.
Maybe it was just other stuff, but it definitely wasn't. It was but I played that, and I found out afterwards that at the end of the night they all went to the casino, and one of my mates won about $5,000 in the casino from a very, very tiny stake. And as a thanks to the other lads for coming with him, he gave them 500 quid each. So I could have had 500 quid and a big night. Actually, no, because still I was doing very well with Chesterfield and it was well worth it. But I could have had 500 quid. So you can see how someone's life would very quickly go, yeah, I don't want to go to your mum's. I just don't. Look how well I've brought Forest Green in the Champions League final. Are you kidding me?
I feel like your mate proper did that as a screw Pete. It's
Yeah.
500 quid each. He can stay in by himself.
To be fair, it's probably what we probably wouldn't have given me anything if I was there anyway, and still sort the other two out. But yeah, no, that's one of the examples I use. One of many, really.
Rod Hull can't be in. There's no way Rod Hull is in Championship Manager. I want that to be true so much, but I can't. So for me, it's down to the legal proceedings or the divorces, and I am going to go with the game being cited in 35 divorce proceedings worldwide in 2012.
And you're right to do so. Yeah, that is true.
I don't think when they set out to make the game, they thought that this is where they would end up with people getting divorced over it.
It's Football Manager.
Okay, if you would like to subscribe to the podcast, that would be amazing because that's a good thing to do, and it means that the next one will drop straight into your podcast provider. And please rate us. I'm working on the basis that if you're still listening at this point of the podcast, then possibly you've kind of enjoyed it, maybe.
We can ask for the 5 now.
You can ask for the 5. Yeah, at the start we were like, we'll take a 4-star. But yeah, if you are happy to write and you want to leave a review, maybe pop in there your favourite Championship Football Manager player of all time, then please do. We'd be grateful. This episode, by the way, was brought to you by our friends at Football Index, the football stock market where you can buy and sell players for real money. Sign up today at footballindex.co.uk. We've got our own code for you as well, TBM Index, to trade with a £500 money-back guarantee. New customers only, 18 plus. Sorry, that's another £500, Pete, that you can't get your hands on. And contact us by emailing contact@planetfootball.com. Next time, we will remember one of the strangest owner-manager relationships in recent history, a Swede and a tie that started so well, but ended with an 8-1 spanking at Pete's Middlesbrough. He's going to be happy about this one.
This has been a good run for me these last couple of episodes, I've got to say.
Our guest will be Michael Ball when we discuss Sven and City next time on The Broken Metatarsal.
2008.
1999.
1985.